Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4.
Angle. But the science of it is something even more important, and that is where we have Dr. T V Ramachandra, who will share with us some of his long findings and research over a period of time. So now I will hand over the forum to him to discuss and share with us some of the assessments of the environmental quality of the lakes of Bengaluru. Over to you, Bob.
Good afternoon to everyone. I know just now we had a lunch. So now my job is not just to communicate and make sure that everyone listens to me also. As a teacher, I am going to do that. If somebody tries to take a nap, I will interact with them. Okay? So now with this, today I am going to talk on the wetlands or the lake. So, when we talk about lakes or a wetland, it is for people and nature. Now when we talk about lakes, first let us try to understand why lakes are required. Why I have put this slide first, because often in Bangalore I hear there's a section of experts say that Bangalore does not require lakes. So for them, I just tell them that lakes gives us the fish, the fodder and water. They also have to drink water. If they don't eat fish, at least water has to be there. Then regulating services, groundwater recharge happens. Then of course recreation. And this section of the society who criticizes, I also often see them jogging in the Sankey Lake and other areas. So that means that recreation services, at least for that they require lake. Now, when we talk about the conservation can happen only if there are funds are available. Conservation would have been effective if people have taken active part in the system. Now, to allocate fund, what should be the strategy? Let us do the natural capital accounting. What is the worth of the ecosystem? Is it worth? So, we tried to do that. In fact, today morning there was a discussion about the number of wetlands in Karnataka, 40,000 to 36,000. I worked with remote sensing data. These are the pictures taken from the satellite platform. It doesn't lie. So my data shows 39,970 wetlands are there in Karnataka. And we have also categorized based on the various criteria, the size, etc. Now, each district, the district which had a water stress, we had large number of lakes. That was the vision of our leaders. Gandhiji talked about Surajya, decentralized harvesting structures so that everyone have the water. So if there is a river passing through or the stream passing through, they just put a bund so that they can stagnate the water for a while, which can be used for irrigation, etc. and drink it. That's how even if you look at Bangalore topography, we have the large number of tanks, etc. Now, if you look at what is the worth of the wetlands or lakes in Karnataka, you see it amounts to about 7,320 billion rupees. There was a mention of Mekedatu project in the morning by Dr. Leo. My argument to them who proposed the project, you are submerging the forest which is worth 80 to 100 billion rupees. How much money they are spending on the project? 5,000 crore to loot 10,000 or 100 billion rupees worth forest. And another important thing we need to understand is the hydrological function by the forest ecosystem. Forest and river system there are helping in recharging the underlying layer to an extent of 100 TMC of water. Why are we submerging 100 TMC of water to store 65 TMC of water? So these are the things people have to question. They can question provided they have the knowledge about this thing. That's where some of the work what I have done recently Earlier I used to argue on biodiversity. People used to say, so what? Now if I say the money, then people started looking at it in a bigger way. So now when you look at the worth of the lake per hectare, we get the goods, provisional services 1,76,000 rupees. Okay, per hectare per year. See, if you go to some of the lakes in Bangalore, like Rachinhalli or Jepco, the worth is about 10,000 rupees per hectare per day. And who are the people who are benefited because of this? Fishermen, washermen, then the farmers, etc. And if we pollute the lake, Amrithalli lake, 20 rupees per hectare per day. And these are the section of society that they get affected because of we people polluting the water bodies. Okay? Then the worth of the wetland amounts to about 10 lakh rupees per hectare per year. Now, what is the agenda of my research? Of course, I have been doing the society relevant science, and my objective is to ensure there is a clean air and water to our next generation. That's what we have been working, and of course my colleague Shivkumar is there, who is also talking about rainwater harvesting. We want to make sure that our children have a clean and adequate quantity of water. But for that to happen, we need to have responsible decision making without excuses. You know, today I become a decision maker, I will have the baggage of excuses. So that can stop only when we have sensible citizens in the system. Who are these sensible citizens? The people who have knowledge of ecosystem and environment. We did a small study in Bangalore to find out what is environmental literacy in Bangalore compared to the other districts. You know, Bangalore people can read and write to an extent of 85.8%. Next to Mumbai, everyone can read, right? Or at least they can send messages through chat and all those things. But when it comes to the environmental literacy, 3.5% of Bangaloreans are environmentally literate. That is my problem. 3.5% of Bangaloreans are environmentally literate. That's where I have a tree cover of 3.5%. I have lakes which are good. This will constitute only 3.5% of the thing. The same, the correlation you can see in a district like Uttar Kannada and Shivamogga, where environmental literacy is as high as 45 to 46%. I see the forest cover also of that. That means if you are talking about conservation, first and foremost thing we need to do is educate, make the people sensible. When they become sensible, they will be responsible. Now let us talk about wetlands of Bangalore. And we have done these studies. I will skip this slide. This is all the pleasant part of the Bangalore when we were young. But today we see this. A young lady struggling to earn 25 rupees a day, which is not sufficient even for her food. Okay, when you look at the lakes of Bangalore, the current Bangalore extent is 740 square kilometer. Way back when Kempegowda and all were there, we had 1,452 water bodies. Taking advantage of undulating terrain, the people abundant the streams or the river, the flowing in the region, and that's how we had the lakes. When people say that there are no natural wetlands in Bangalore, I counter them that the rivers are dammed. So that means they are natural. So this is only to bypass the wetland rule and all. People come up with this kind of theories and all those things. I am in the wetland committee. You know, the gentleman who spoke few minutes back came to the committee. He said there are no wetlands which can merit the conservation in Bangalore and in Karnataka. So this is the problem, okay? So now, today, when you look at the lakes in Bangalore, we have 193 water bodies. Storage capacity of water body is 1 TMC. Whereas when Kempegowda created the water body, or that generation created a water body, we had 35 TMC of storage capacity. And today, if you look at the interconnectivity among the lakes are lost. Okay. Earlier the water used to move from one lake to the other. Today it's not happening. And we restored the lake. Out of curiosity, I asked my student to monitor these restored lakes. So when we did that, out of that 45 lakes which are monitored, we found that the good water quality is only 13%, the poor water quality 34%, very, very poor water quality is 53%. And that means a lot of money we spent on the rejuvenation lake, but we didn't achieve the purpose of rejuvenation. That means to restore the ecological integrity of the system. Now, what are the problems? People who rejuvenate the lake, they didn't know what is lake. They're dominated by the cement plowing section of the society with the concrete drains. They only concretize the lake. That was first problem. And their agenda is to utilize the allocated fund, not what is required for the lake and how to rejuvenate. Okay? Then they do not think about decontaminating the lake. They take the silt and they create an island. They think that they have done the job, they have provided a habitat or for the site for the birds, but whatever the contaminant that was there in the silt get leached to the lake, and that's where the lake continues to be in the contaminated state, so that the next, after 5 years, again you can take up the rejuvenation. If the system is working fine, who will allocate the fund? So this is an agenda to deliberately to misuse the money. And another aspect is not arresting the pollutant. I am in Bengaluru and Uttar lake committees. Even today, the raw sewage is coming to the lake, both because of the government, BWSSB, as well as arm advice. The apartments also is releasing the sewage. We monitor the thing, we quantified what is the quantum of the sewage that comes from the apartment. And I was told by the apartment, the association, they have to pay the regulating agency every month to be inefficient. That means they can release the sewage into the lake, provided they make a payment to the board. Okay? So, and the agenda is to convert into cement bowl, and remove all the, all those things with the shallow region, and having the bushes which are giving the kind of the habitat for the birds and the other organisms. We are losing because of this, the mismanaging the lake. Now let me summarize each one of the things and illustrate. First, the problem of Bangalore or in India is unplanned, senseless urbanization. And you look at this one, 68% green cover in 70s. Today I have less than 4%. And if you want to understand, 73 we had 68% green cover. 92 with industrialization, Pune and Koramangala changes started happening. Then 2000 with ITPT coming at the outskirts, we see further changes. Then intensification started happening 2006, 2009. And if this trend continues, what is likely to happen, we try to simulate that, dividing Bangalore into 4 zones, 1 kilometer concentric circle. We try to understand the behavior of the agents, etc. I will not get into the details because the time given is short. So now what is likely to happen? In 2025, 98% would be concretized. The people, the urban elites who like concrete and cement area, they will not see the soil. So probably they want that. That is what going to happen. And this is and another implication is the green cover will be less than 1.5% or so. There will be oxygen deficiency. And many people do not even know that trees gives us oxygen. So that is the state of affairs in Bangalore. And when we talk about lakes, of course, when we mismanage the lake, we have the flooding happening. That's meaning because people occupy the floodplain, and if nobody questions, they will also occupy the lake itself. And if you want to understand what is the floodplain, because people will go to the court and argue what should be the buffer zone for the lake. In one of my articles, I said 200 meters should be the buffer zone for some of the big lakes in Bangalore. And of course, NGT came up with 75 meters. Then people, building mafia and the other section of the society, the bureaucracy didn't like that 75 meter buffer. They went to the Supreme Court. What was their argument? They said, Lord, our Mumbai has 10 meter, Hyderabad has 15 meter, why should Bangalore have 75 meter? Lord granted, okay, let Bangalore also have 30 meter. So without understanding the science, we take a we judge the system and we come up with this kind of erroneous decisions. So now the consequence is that our children are paying the price. Flooding is happening every year. And the causal factor, land use, alteration, topography, etc. And the most important thing we need to understand is in the name of urbanization, We concretized the Bangalore landscape by 1055% in 4 decades. We lost 79% water bodies and 88% green cover in 4 decades. And what the job lake was doing, when the lake was there, groundwater was at 80 to 100 feet. And after removing the lake in 5 years, in places like Nakshetihalli, it came down to 600 feet. Today in the same location, about 6 months back, the resident from that area came to my office. They said, sir, we have dug a well, we have gone down to 1,900 feet, how to get a water? That is the situation. So, now that means we are making this region the without water. Okay? So, now, why the other problem? The flood happens is interconnectivity among the lakes is disappeared. When bureaucrats swallow the lake, we have the flooding happening in the region. So now this is where we have lost the interconnectivity among the lake. This I have published actually. All this material is available online. You can look at it. And another thing you need to understand, I think Bangaloreans need to understand, is the famous remodeling of the Raja kaluves and stormwater network. It is as bad as the white topic. So with these two things, Raja kaluves and white topic, the money is distributed among all MLAs across the world, irrespective of the party. That's where everyone wants the Raja Kaluve to be remodeled and the thing. What is the purpose of Raja Kaluve remodeling? Narrow the thing so that they can make more money and help the builders in the vicinity, and concretize, because every kilometer of concretizing you get 8 crores of rupees. 40 to 50% of that, you know how much it is. So that is the thing, and that is where the flooding is happening. For example, if you look at Koramangala, you go to Koramangala region, Bengaluru and Agaram drain. In the cadastral map, I see the width as 80 meters. Today it is 18.5 meters. There is a limit to help the corruption or to make corruption in the system. This is the level they are doing it. 60 meters worth of land, few meters they have encroached. And BVM goes and helps them in the name of remodeling. And today, in the current budget, 1,500 crore is allocated for remodeling. Not only the government allocates the money, in the process the people also make money by helping the others in the section. And this is how the concretization has happened in the Bengaluru and Vartur catchment. You see Bengaluru catchment, and this is the Vartur catchment. We have reached a threshold. There is something called carrying capacity of the region. We have crossed all the limits. And we will pay the heavy price. Okay? And look at the valley zone violation, what's happening. As per the norm, between two wetlands, that's called valley zone, to be conserved or protected. See how it is happening? The government itself comes up with SEZ. That means neither government knows or the army knows about what is conservation and why conservation is required. Okay? Now the other thing is, see, the lake has been used for dumping solid waste. We have solid waste rule of 2000, and then we modified in 2016. Still it continues. And we encroach. We have lake view apartment. Happily we elites go and pay and we stay in the apartment, thinking that we can take the benefit of the lake. But unfortunately, my study shows that every year they have to spend 30,000 rupees on the repellents like mosquito repellents and other problems because of the misdeed of staying closer to the polluted lake. And the lake is receiving the sewage, untreated sewage. For example, Bengaluru receives about 500 million liters every day. And through the tankers also it comes. And I was surprised, the industries have become a gentleman in our country. Show me one industry in Bangalore who is treating properly and not letting the polluted into the lake. If they are doing their job, why they have the midnight operation? When we go to some of the lakes in the midnight, I see the truck coming there and discharging the pollutant. Okay? The lake which is in Preston Street when I was in, today is full of the green, which indicates lake has reached the eutrophic status with rich in nutrient and heavy metals. And see that we have done the mapping of where all the dumping of solid waste happens, especially construction, demolition waste and other things. Okay? So now, of course, this is a famous Bengaluru saga and Vartur, and probably I have travelled many countries. Nobody showed the coexistence of fire and water except Babus in Bangalore who showed that. Okay? And what is the solution for this? Not to solve the problem. They just put the barricade. I wrote an article saying that this is not going to solve the problem, this is going to further aggravate the situation. And I said, in 4 days, this froth will cross over the barricade. And the BDA chief told me, as usual, that you are a critic, you will continue to criticize whatever we do, we have solved the problem. But after 4 days, as I predicted, when it crossed over, I called the gentleman, so where is your success? He said, sir, we should respect scientists. I just jovially pulled you. I said, fine. Okay, now, because of this pollution, what are the problems? Let us try to understand. You see that people grow vegetable in the vicinity of Vartur. You collect those the vegetable sample and the fish that grows in the Vartur and Bengaluru lake, you analyze. When we analyzed, we saw the heavy metal in the food. The vegetable, the spinach, pudina, all these have heavy metal. So that means you don't have to eat chawanprash. Heavy metal is coming in the food. But the excess heavy metal into our body is going to create the problem. It is going to cripple the system. That's where we have higher incidences of kidney failure and cancer in the system. Kidney failure, as to the data I have, what was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today is 1 in 5,000. This is not a sign of prosperity. This shows how we have degenerated the system. Okay? Now coming to the Vartur lake and Bengaluru lake. We said desilting has to be done. Question came, how much is the silt has to be removed? We analyzed. The army helped us. We did the quantification of the silt. Finally, we said 11 million cubic meter of silt is there from both the lake. Then, immediately a section of the society came up. They said, no, silt should not be transported. It will create a traffic problem. We said, no, nearby villages will take the Vartur lake silt. They said, no, the Vartur lake silt has the pollute and contaminants. How can you give this silt to them? Then I asked my students to analyze, and parallelly I asked the Pollution Control Board, because they are the regulatory agency, they should also analyze. When they analyzed, we were confirmed that there were no pollutant in the Vartur lake silt, because Bengaluru lake accesses the wetland, so that when water moves from Bengaluru to Vartur, the contamination got trapped in the Bengaluru lake. So then we said that we'll give it to the farmers. I had a meeting with the farmers. I said that you try this, it will work. After 4 months, I visited the farmers. I just asked the simple question. Okay, we gave you the silt. Whether it troubled you, whether you underwent loss, or did you get benefit? They said that we were earning X amount, but after we putting this silt in this lake, of the lake, to this agricultural land, our earning went up by 1.5 lakhs. By the time we had supplied the silt to the 400 acres in that region. You can imagine 400 acres into the 1.5 lakh, what is the worth of the silt. And if you take the entire silt of the Vartur Bengaluru, this one, it amounts to 1,500 crores. That is the worth of the silt. So then another aspect, as madam was telling about in the morning, the phosphorus. Phosphorus is the root cause for the frothing in the region. We did the analysis, and we submitted a report to the government of Karnataka, and independently I sent it to the government of India also, our scientific report. Based on that, now there are restrictions on the phosphate used in the detergent. So I do not know how far the industries will they implement that. For that, again, the regulating agencies has to be there with the spinal cord in their body. So this is a study we did with the help of all the agencies, including the defense. We work with the defense people also. So then what needs to be done? Criticism is fine. What is the solution for Bangalore? I would say that we need to go for rainwater harvesting. That's where Shivkumar is here. Other one is we need to treat the sewage. Sewage has to be treated. Something similar to Jakkur. Constructed wetland, way back we implemented in 2010 when I was in the committee. And we monitored for the last 10 years. And we showed that that is one of the success model. And also the model is successful. That's because the credit goes to the local people. Where local people and organizations take active part in the management of the natural resources, I see that the resources survives. Otherwise, it will be taken by the other section of the society who are interested in making money. So now when you look at Bangalore, this is about 700 to 850 millimeter of rainfall. If I quantify that, we have 15 TMC of water for a region where 18 TMC is the water requirement. So that means 70% of the water required for Bangalore is available in the form of rain. Then if I am using 18 TMC of water, I am also generating 18 TMC of water, which is a surplus situation in a region where 18 TMC is required. If I am having 31 TMC, I do not require even make a Tatu or Linganmakki water to the Bangalore. For that, I have a 5R formula. First R is a responsible citizen. When people are responsible, we will rejuvenate the lake, retain the rainwater, and we will also reuse the wastewater. So that's how we ensure that enough water is available in the region. So these are the number of lakes that are there in the Bangalore today. 193 lakes, all lakes, we have monitored that. You know, my student did it at zero cost. I was told that Navy also did a similar exercise, but most of their work is carries the study reports outcome also. If you see that they have cited that. So, but they charge 3 crores. That is where when scientists do, it is zero cost. When organization does, it becomes 3 crores. Okay. So then, and then the other thing which I have been doing is sensitizing the youth. When people, when youth acquire the knowledge, I have a better India. So now let me take you to IISc. This is what we do. The children do a simple experiment, and that's our environmental education program we have on carbon sequestration, lake monitoring, etc. And I organize the symposium, popularly known as Lake Symposium, once in 2 years. One day is for the school and college students. They come, do the presentation, and they take part in the other 3 days. They can interact with the national and international experts. That's how the capacity building happens. And you see that how the children collect the lesson, how they have been trained, and they come to the lab and they use the gadgets, etc. So then they also take part in the rejuvenation of a landscape, planting, etc. So now, this is a lake I created in the campus way back in 2008. For the last, 13 years, we have enough water, 10 lakh liters of water. I stay on the campus. 500 liters of water I require for my family. 500 into 365 is 1.65 lakhs required per year. That means I am putting back 10 times the water that is required for me. So that is what, if every Indian does it, there won't be any scarcity of resources in the country or in the region. So now, not only the student who use this water body for their biofuel study, even I have water in the campus. At one end I say Bangalore is dying, other end I see the positive thing. That means there is still hope in Bangalore. Okay? Now, when I meet people, I also make them to create the water body. This is what happened in Mudbidre. I see the success is because of the youth. The Mudbidre faced a water crisis for 2 years. Then they invited me and we had a discussion on how to create the water body, etc. We gave the scientific input. Within 15 days, they created a water body. I saw the success is because of the youth from the IISc Institute. Then we made sure in IISc campus also, you have the water body of 25 lakh liters of water. When I visited, every year I go as a guest faculty, I see the green with a smile on everybody's face. To put it on the lighter side, this gentleman who is the CEO of IISc, he was a quite young man. So he took my advice, he created a water body, and when he met me, he was a bachelor. But within 6 months, he got a partner who take care of the joint family. That is the beauty of the nature. What you do, you get the dividends also in a better way. Okay, now if you come to IISc campus, I'll end in another 1 or 2 minutes. The architecture, I said I should have it in my campus. I just brought it to the campus. This is the pod, I got it. And planted in 7 locations in the 7 pods in the campus. That, among the 7 locations, only 1 location it has survived. That is next to my office. Even the plants know who will take care. Other 6 locations we didn't survive. Many people tested this. You can also do that. Okay? And in front of this building, I created a mini forest. Today, that is a success model. 49 native species, 500 saplings were planted way back in 90s when I was a student. And today, you come there, you feel a rainforest. And another interesting thing is, groundwater, which was 100 feet or the 150 feet, today you have the water at 10 feet. That means the forests also act as the water reservoir. That is what the Mekedatu project, you have to tell the government. If there are some sensible people in this room, today you should send a message to my friend who heads the state, who doesn't listen to me. Okay? This is where we have the capacity building program for the school students. Sometimes my audience goes up to 5,000, 2,000 like that. Okay? and we enjoy working with them. That is where we sensitize them. And also we do the capacity building for the people working in industries, etc. This is the 19th session on the course on environmental management and solid waste. That means we are trying to sensitize all sections of the society, including the bureaucrats and also the politicians. If you want more details, it's available online. These are the portals where data is available. Here in YouTube also my lectures, Dr. Bharat is there. He has archived all my talks in the portal. And when you look at my website, you will get all my publications which is archived there. So these are the locations where you get the details of the publications. You can explore. If you still have doubt, you can write to me, you can criticize. So, and the success is because of this bunch of youngsters who are working with me. When they do good science, we take it to the society, and society also sees the peace. And that's what we are working for. Thank you very much for listening to me.